Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
TRE in the afternoon. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Good afternoon. It's just gone 5:05. You're listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today is Georgina Shaw, Becky Sharp and Sandra Mole. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you all for coming in. If you are listening at home and you'd like to get involved, you can. Here's how.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95.
What a beautiful day, it's a wonderful life.
Okay, we're starting with food, which is always a good place to start. This one is talking about a Sunday roast. As any seasoned cook will tell you, the key to a good roast is timing. Getting your Yorkies, meat and potatoes, not to mention the greens and gravy, to the table at the same time demands military precision. But for younger generations, it seems that the heat of a Sunday roast in the kitchen is nearly too much to handle. Nearly half of 18 to 24-year-olds say they would be too nervous to attempt a Sunday lunch for friends or family. The article then goes on to say that it's not just young people getting into a stew over hosting, with 3 in 10 Britons now too anxious to hold a dinner party. I have a confession. I have never made a Sunday roast on my own before.
Yeah, but you have PJ.
Exactly, that's absolutely my reason.
And I'm
because
going to
I
put
have
my hand up and say the same
Really?
as you is true. I always found it was too complicated, so I never really... I helped my mum, I helped my husband.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy, I'm a good commie. But to do it on my own, it's a lot.
Even doing a full English on your own is tricky. You know, you've got to get the eggs done at the same mushroom. It's hard. It's
as
a
a
lot.
vegetarian, I have.
Yes. Yeah.
It is timing. And also not being anxious. As soon as you're anxious, your timing will go kaput, because you always say, oh, maybe it's done, maybe it's not. Open the oven. Opening the oven, Yorkshire puddings go flat.
Yeah.
And you're constantly watching, turning it down, turning it up. Let it be. That's it. The key is just let it be and don't be anxious.
Yeah. I've had bad experiences, though, with baking. Over the years, I've gone through phases of, I can bake. How difficult is it? You follow the recipe. What could possibly go wrong? But it goes wrong every time. You know, I've tried to do muffins and things, and I'm like, right, I'll follow the recipe. I'll follow the instructions. That's what everybody says. And they come out burnt or they come out not cooked, and I'm like, I don't get it. So it puts me off.
With recipes, I was never taught a recipe. My grandmother always taught me, feel it, taste it, smell it.
Yes.
Because making a sponge cake here with the same ingredients wouldn't be the same in England, because here it would melt too quickly, so you'd need less oil and less fat. And it's knowing what the breadcrumbs feel like. So that's more than it.
Interesting.
A recipe doesn't travel universally.
That's very true. Yeah. And also, I just think if you're not enjoying it, and I mean, obviously people need to eat, so, you know, that's important. But, you know, if you're not really enjoying it, then don't put pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
I have to make everything. You know, you can buy really good cakes here, you know, and in France, it's a really, like, if you've gone to the patisserie and it's got the box and the, you know, the lovely ribbon around it and stuff like that, it's a proper gift.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think maybe changing things a little bit. So, and also, you know, if it's young people cooking for everyone, you know, for maybe 6 people, which is a budgeted, cost-effective way of eating, then you could say, well, I'll do the vegetables, you can do the meat,
yes.
somebody or a vegetarian option, or, you know.
But then the host and hostess is always left with the Yorkshire puddings, because they don't travel and they are the most difficult to make.
Do you think this with the young people is to do with the pressure of kind of social media and having all these beautiful pictures of food, and everyone taking pictures of food nowadays, that they don't want to just do do a like one pot, you know, spag bowl, something easy and nourishing and lovely. They need to do something fancy. They perceived that they have to do something a bit more complicated. I wonder whether that's something to do with that.
Yeah, probably.
But maybe if they realise that all those photographs are taken of cold food.
And sometimes have spray on them as well, you know, so they're not going to be eaten after.
A lovely water spray or a glaze.
Yes. Yeah.
That meat is never dry.
But I don't think one should ever underestimate having somebody in the household, whether it's the whoever it is, whether it's the son, the daughter, the mother, the father, whoever, who not only enjoys cooking but is good at it.
Oh, it's so
which is Fraser.
Oh, Mal. Oh, look. Oh, your
and
man
my husband
and my
as well.
man. Yes.
And it wasn't like that when we met each other.
Really?
He's become increasingly...
Is that because your cooking is so bad?
You've got it.
Brilliant.
Quite possibly.
He had to learn.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Oh, that's funny.
It's something he really... It chills him out. He absolutely loves it.
Mine. So I don't kind of feel the need. I mean, I've sort of given up a little bit now, but every so often for a long time, I'd say, do you want me to cook tonight? Shall I cook tonight? And if he's had a busy day or a stressful day, why don't I cook tonight? You know, I'll offer. And every single time, without fail, he'll say, no, it's fine, thank you. No, this calms me down.
That's exactly
and he'll
the
have
same.
a glass of wine and he'll get into a zone in the kitchen, and he really enjoys it.
I think
more than my cooking.
But it is a great way to de-stress. If you enjoy it, it's a great way to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're, as you said, you're in your own zone, you're enjoying what you do, you're creating something.
Yes.
And for someone else who enjoys it.
And I think it's definitely progress that more and more men are cooking, and I think that cooking for the family is getting less gendered. Like, I really do. And for me as a mum of a boy, I'm so delighted about that, because he has the complete thing, which whoever is the better cook or has more time does that job. It's definitely not a woman's role or a woman's place.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
And I love that.
Really good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Who does the washing up?
Whoever didn't cook.
Yeah, it should be.
Same
I mean, to be
in my
fair,
house.
load the dishwasher as opposed to washing up. Don't do much washing up. I wash up the wine glasses, but other than that, I load the dishwasher and unload. I enjoy unloading and putting things away, just so. Okay, we have... Oh, Cookies just said Sunday roast easy. There you go. It's one of those things. If you can do it and you enjoy it, it's easy.
But cooking...
Well done, Cookie.
She enjoys cooking, though, doesn't she? Every morning I listen to all the different things she's made the night before. I could kill her.
In the nicest possible way, Cookie. This is talking about play dates and how they've changed over the years. Back in the day, parents were relaxed about their children playing video games, dressing up and eating way too many unsuitable treats when their pals came over to visit. Now it seems the modern play date has become a far more staged affair, with educational games, healthy food and screen-free activities on the cards. It goes into quite a lot of detail, the article, but I thought I'd ask you.
That's more like parent competition than a play date for children.
Yes.
Also, I just think as well, you know, it depends on the play date, who's asking the person over, and you know, you're being invited into somebody's home. If they want to give your child Coca-Cola crisps and a Kit Kat for dinner, then, you know, let them do it. Because they, you know, I just feel like you're a guest in somebody else's house.
Yeah.
And also, you know, we were talking about that beforehand, that, you know, the healthy stuff that's been given, it's usually down to allergies that people might have.
Right.
Also, you know, it depends where you are in the world. Here in Spain, I can say to the boys, you know, lots of times I'll say, you know, go and play in the garden, let's go and play some badminton outside, let's go, you know, play football, and once they've been out for an hour, then you can come back and you can play cards or what, you know, or play a video game, but it's kind of balanced.
Yes.
In England, if it's tipping it down with rain for a whole weekend, also we didn't actually do there were play dates, but not in the same regularity as it's happening now.
I don't remember the words play dates when I was young at all. You just went to your mate's house.
Are they sleepovers? Is that what they call it?
Not necessarily.
It's just going around to each other's houses and
but it's just called a play date now, isn't it?
So basically, that's a time when they're not being educated, they're not at school, so they should be able to let down their hair.
Yeah, exactly. Go to their mate's house and do whatever, or have or to your house and do whatever.
I was kind of chuckling when I was reading that, because I think in Spain we're not quite there yet with saying, we must all be sitting around a table, playing a board game and eating crudité. That is definitely not my experience of a play date. It's a lot more freeform than that. But I do agree with what you were saying in terms of every parent should do the play date the way they want to do it. And I've always been a little bit strict with screen time, because my son's an only child. He spends quite a bit of time with screens. And when you've got your friends over, why are you all just sat in the same room watching something? Yeah. But I'm the same as you. I sort of say, okay, go out and play, or play something in the house, and then after a certain time, then that's fine, you can watch a movie or do something. But I'm definitely not serving up healthy foods, because my experience is people don't tend to want it. They're not going to probably eat it. Some fruit or maybe some stuff to pick at, but it's supposed to be fun. You want people to want to come back. You want your child to feel proud of the experience. A few treats here and there, I think, is a nice thing to do.
You just reminded me, I hadn't thought about this for years, you just reminded me about something my mum used to do. She made up this dish called green swamp.
Oh,
and
that's appealing.
And I mean, this would have been when I was about, I don't know, 7, 8, that kind of age. And I remember friends used to say, "Oh, can we?" If they were coming over to my house, "Are we going to have green swamp? Are we going to have green swamp?" And it was basically the different coloured pastas. So some were green, some were more orange. And that when you get the different coloured pastas. So Mum would say, "Oh, so these are worms," and then there'd be tomato puree in it. So she'd say
Halloween, or was it
just to be fun. She was just being fun. And the tomato puree was blood. And she used to make up jungle juice, because I never had Coca-Cola or things like that. So she called it jungle juice, and it was a mixture of different fruit juices. So it had a kind of brown sort of colour. It didn't look very nice, but she made it sound nice by calling it jungle juice, and kids loved it.
It's brilliant.
It was great. It's really clever. You make things sound fun, or even I don't have worms. Let's have the worms. It was very clever.
Imaginative, your mum.
Exactly. Exactly. Right, we better take a break.
TRE. Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's just gone 5:20. You're listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today, Georgina Shaw, Becky Sharp and Sandra Mole. This article made me chuckle. It's an excerpt from the latest book of William Hanson, who I've interviewed many times. He's hilarious. He's an etiquette expert, and his new book is called Just Good Manners, A Guide to Courtesy, Charm and Decorum. And every time he interviewed me, he made me feel like I'm doing it all wrong, because
nice.
He used to say that fridge magnets, horrendous, so horrendous, and I'd be like, I love a fridge magnet, my fridge is covered and he was talking about hen nights, and I just had mine, and he was talking about all the things that you mustn't do. I was like, we did that, we definitely did that.
Outrageous.
Just hilarious. So I thought we could talk about some of these things that you mustn't do that we may all do. This is a fascinating one. Removing footwear is something that one shouldn't do when going into a house, he says. Unless your shoes are filthy, keep them on. I don't want to see people's feet. They often smell.
Yeah, but they've got socks on.
Well, they can smell that.
But also,
they can. Yeah.
But he's only talking about the UK.
With people with carpets.
Excuse me, in the UK, most of my friends have these ridiculous beige carpets. Your shoes are taken off before you can get up the garden path.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you can mock it. But they don't have anything to put your feet in. Why don't they have slippers that they've secreted away in their luggage?
I
Yes.
think it's a question with that of checking what your host wants, because it's very obvious when you come in the door, whether you've got a line of shoes by the door, that's your cue.
Yes.
That they need to be removed. Or if everybody else is wearing them, just keep them on. I think that kind of etiquette with that very black and white, I think is no longer true, because there's people that feel differently, and it's their home. So as a guest coming in, I think you need to respect
I've got
that.
to say that when the boys' friends come round, who are from all sorts of different countries and cultures, they all and they're very respectful. Can I take? Where should I put my shoes? And I know,
nice.
and I like it actually because I think it means that there is. A whole cultural thing about, if you've got shoes that have been outside, there's dirt out there.
Especially with boys running around in the mud.
Yeah.
The younger generation seem to be more into that, the etiquette there of looking, which is the opposite of what William said.
Yes, completely.
Yeah.
So maybe he should be trained by some of the youngsters.
Move with the times. Etiquette
Yes.
from the 20s is no longer viable.
Absolutely. Okay, this made me chuckle, because not only have I done this myself many times, but I love doing it when I go to other people's houses. So I disagree with this one as well. Offering house tours. Your home is not a National Trust property. Friends don't care what you've done to your son's bedroom.
But they do.
But they do. If I go to a friend's new house, well, it doesn't have to be new, but a friend's house, apartment, whatever, for the first time, I mean, I don't want to see their kids' bedrooms, to be fair. I wouldn't care, and I wouldn't even want to see their bedroom. But it's nice to have a little look around. Yeah. And if they say, do you want to see what we've done with our top terrace? Or, yes, please, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it as well.
From a kind of nosy point of view, and having lived here for a while, and it's interesting to see not only where different people live, but what books they have on their bookshelves, and it's fun.
It's getting to know them.
It is.
The paraphernalia they have around, the perfume they have, as you know.
Yes.
All those things.
I think
fascinating.
I think it's quite a generous thing to do. I think
you wouldn't do it every time, would you? That's true.
His suggestion there is that we're sort of showing off, and I don't think that. And maybe there are people that do that, but I've never sort of had that.
No.
It's more just like, do you want to have a look around? That natural nosiness that we all have, and also that sharing of your space with the person that you've brought in. So I think that's a really weird one.
Yeah.
It's not usually you as the host, as the house owner, asking people to take them around. When people come and say, can I have a look?
Yes.
It's more that way, isn't it?
Yeah, you wouldn't... No, yeah, that's true. You wouldn't necessarily... If people were coming round... Unless you just moved in and you were really like, do you want to see our new place?
Or you've just done it up or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But generally, if you had people around for the first time and you'd lived there a long time, you wouldn't necessarily say, do you want to have a look around our house? That wouldn't be a bit odd, I
Is
suppose.
he also saying that if you live in a National Trust house, you can show people around?
I guess so, yes. What do you?
They need to keep the lights on.
Yes, quite. This is a fascinating one. All about salt. He says, don't put salt all over your food. Put a pile on the rim of your plate, then take a few granules on the blade of your food knife and add it to the food on your fork.
Oh, wow.
Out of respect, how old is William?
40s.
Really?
Yes.
I'm astonished. I'm astonished.
He sounds about 95.
That is Victorian.
Yeah, but that was what my
to do that.
grandparents. They had the salts, a silver salt cellar thing that would have brought to the table, and you had a little spoon,
and you put it on the side of your plate.
But
that is Victorian.
No. Yeah. What about the idea of, he says, never season before tasting, and don't add salt and pepper at all if you're worried about insulting or insinuating that the host's food is bland.
That is a tricky one.
I would always taste before seasoning.
Yes.
I would.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
Some restaurants get really offended. I've heard Gordon Ramsay say that you should never do that in a restaurant because it should be cooked to perfection, that it never needs seasoning.
But whose perfection?
Yes.
Well, yes, it's true. Everyone's different. It's that some things can be too salty because they've decided that
in restaurants, though, they tend to flavour, season, I should say, because then you can add according to your own palate.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
Yeah,
but always taste first.
Yeah, definitely.
I never used to be the kind of person that would add salt and pepper to my food, but I am now. Definitely, when I'm out, I'll have
I have
pepper.
a thing
or-
I went,
ground black
I was
pepper.
travelling up the A1 last year. We were, and we stopped at a Pret a Manger. I'm sorry about the advert, but you probably won't. You
Sorry.
probably won't go now. And we had a tuna sandwich. It was completely tasteless, so I asked for salt, and they said, "We can't possibly give you salt. It's bad for your health." In a Pret a Manger.
Oh, for goodness sake.
And they wouldn't give us any salt.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. Who were they
Watford
to...
Junction, by the way.
What happened to the customer's always right?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's crazy, isn't it? Wow. This is talking about PDAs, or public displays of affection. He says, you can't keep your hands off your partner. Brits still don't like displays of affection, so if you are at a friend or relative's home with your partner, don't leave your hand on their knee for more than 5 seconds if it's visible to others. Keep all affection short and sweet, because we are British and not Spanish.
So, do we then set our timer? Okay, 5 seconds.
I mean,
Go.
that, when I saw PDA, I was picturing a couple sitting there snogging in front, which would be totally inappropriate. I agree. If you were at we're not 20 anymore. If you were at a friend's house at a dinner party and there was a couple snogging, it would be like, what are you, get a room or leave? Like,
Yes.
what are you doing? But having a hand on the knee is lovely.
It is nice,
Or
yeah.
holding hands even, or
Absolutely.
arms round each other. I mean, for goodness sake, that shows you're happy and content.
Yeah, I
and,
agree.
Oh.
How does that, I mean, especially when you're sitting by each other and you maybe just put your hand on your partner's knee for
Yeah.
no more than 5 seconds. How will that affect anyone?
No.
Because I think it's infectious when people are happy.
Totally agree
It
with
comes
you.
across, and if you're in love with your partner, it comes across.
Yeah, and it's lovely to see. I think if you see friends of yours behaving like that, most people go, "Oh, look at them!
That's
It's
really
lovely.
sweet, yeah.
It's nice to see."
Is he married?
Well,
Or does he just live in the cellar?
I'm not sure. I don't know if he's.
Salt cellar.
I don't know if he's married. He does have a partner, but I'm not sure if they're married.
it's a very
I'll
strange
Google it.
one.
And this is another one which is aimed at stiff upper lip British people, and certainly not us living in Spain. Handshakes, not hugs. He says, you're over familiar. Far better to offer a hand. I'm even talking slightly posh when I'm reading it. Far better to offer a handshake and not a hug or kiss when greeting someone for the first time. A handshake will tell you more about their character. A kiss or a hug is very close to their personal space. A hug can feel insincere and incredibly awkward if both parties don't fully commit to it.
Do you know,
Welcome to
I actually
Spain.
do both. Because
Yeah.
I'm automatically brought up to shake hands. But
Right.
having lived here, so I shake a hand and put my arm around.
I do that too
Yeah.
sometimes. That's the blend of the culture.
But also, I think after COVID, there was that whole thing of like
Elbow
holding back,
bumping, fist bumping, and-
that kind of thing. And how weird and strange that I felt that when
definitely.
I saw a friend that I hadn't seen for a while. I'm sorry, but I'm not fist bumping you.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a jolly big hug.
Absolutely.
I think hugs are like the best thing ever. I think they are. They convey so much more than a handshake would.
Definitely.
I know what he means, though. I have had insincere hugs before. And they just make you go, oh,
Yeah.
I know we're coming up to Halloween, but it's, but a real genuine hug gives you such solace.
Warm
it does.
feeling.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, I think it is funny here though when you move from the UK to Spain and how touchy-feely everyone is. I was like that before anyway, so I felt I'm right at home. But I remember the first time I met the mayor of Marbella at a business function, and you do 2 kisses, and you're thinking, this is weird.
Yes.
This is where I would expect to be shaking a hand.
Yeah.
But she's going around a room of like 50 people, mwah, 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 mwah.
Yeah.
And you do that in a business context, as well as in a personal one. And at first, it does feel a bit
Definitely.
weird.
In the business context,
Because
particularly.
it feels like, but then it's a greeting the same as a handshake or a high five or whatever you want to do. And I actually rather like it because it brings you into that personal space straight away.
Yeah.
And I think it breaks down a lot of the barriers. So I think William can go do one. I think he's there with his handshakes and salt on the side. Sounds very boring.
Yeah, he needs more hugs and salt in his life, doesn't he, basically?
Sorry, William. I've never met you before.
Yeah, sorry, well, let's take a break. We've had enough of William.
Thank you for listening to Talk Radio Europe.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Oh dear, we're all laughing way too much. It's brilliant. Cookies said William needs to get a life, and we absolutely agree. We're far more happier living the way that we're doing. Okay, you're listening to Women Talk. With me in the studio today is Georgina Shaw, Becky Sharp, and Sandra Mole. This article made me really sad. So the headline reads, "Her bumper inheritance is driving me mad with envy. Can our friendship survive?" And I read the article, and basically it's about two friends who spend a lot of time together, do a lot together socially. And one of them, one of their elder relatives has died and left her with a lot of money. So now she is sort of flaunting her money a little bit, really. And I don't think being kind of understanding to the fact that her friend clearly doesn't have as much money as she does. So when they're going for lunch, the friend who's got all this money suddenly is like, "Oh, why don't we go here? And I've just bought a new watch and my new car," and, is really happy and proudly spending her new money, which she obviously has the right to do. But the other friend can't compete or keep up. So it's, there's a bit of a wedge between them.
I just think if you're really good friends, then you've got to get to a point and say, "Look, I want to be with you. I really like spending time with you. You're a really, really great friend. Could we possibly have a coffee?" And, if you want to have more than that, a glass of champagne, whatever, that's absolutely fine. But being with you is the reason, la raison d'être. And so therefore, that's the point.
Yeah, honesty. If you're good friends, both should be able to be honest. I mean, the friend who's got a lot of money, you would think would quite happily want to treat her friend sometimes,
Yes.
not necessarily every time, but say, "Listen, come into this money, let's go out for lunch, or let's go,"
and make it obvious as well and say, "It's on me."
Yes,
Please
say beforehand.
Don't
feel uncomfortable.
No. And also, yes, not every time. Because I've got a lot of really good friends who are very generous. My parents, very generous. They want to pay for everything all the time. And actually, I like as well treating my parents and my friends.
Definitely.
Buying them a bunch of flowers, or, I saw this and I thought of you. That it's the little things like that, which I think mean it's a friendship.
Yeah, definitely.
My mum always says it's the small things that you thought about rather than the things you just grabbed. And they're expensive because of what you put into it. But the friend isn't that much of a friend if she's flaunting it.
No,
because you don't need to do that with friends. You go out according to the pocket of the poorest, I think.
Yes, I do as well. I mean, I think probably us guys on the Costa del Sol, there are pockets of huge wealth and many people that do not have very much money. And so I'm sure we've all had it where people have said, "Come out with me to Puerto Banús or whatever." And then you're thinking, €25 for a drink, oh my God, you know. And they then think you're being cheap or you don't want to stay or whatever. And I think it's that honesty that you so rightly said there of being honest in terms of what you are able but also willing to spend, because just because I can spend €25 on a drink, I definitely do not want to, because I feel like I'm being fleeced. And to sort of have that respect for each other, to sort of say, I'm really happy for you, I'm happy that you want to be doing all of this, but that's not my thing, so why doesn't our thing be sharing a bottle of wine at each other's house, or I want to go out to that place, but let me treat you because I know that I have more money than you, or vice versa.
It's just honesty, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure everyone's been in the situation, and I have in all different points of view. The whole splitting bill situation. You know, I think we've all been there. You're in a big group of people. There'll always be somebody who's driving or who isn't drinking or whatever, and then there'll be people that wants to, you know, do shots and Irish coffees and goodness knows what else, and it makes a huge difference. And it's really easy. Oh, just split the bill. It's fine. It's easy. Of course, splitting the bill is easier. But if you're the person that's had one fizzy water and other people have done 4 bottles of wine and 3 gin and tonics and whatever else, it's not fair. It's not right. So it needs to kind of be out in the open, either before the meal, but I think it's the person who isn't drinking that needs to kind of say that, because someone who knows they're going to have a few drinks isn't going to say, can we just pay for what we've had? Because they're,
but
you know,
people
not
do
generally...
scowl even at the person who says that they think they're a cheapskate because
I
they're
hate
not splitting.
It's
that
horrible.
makes
It's a
you have to
shame.
make a scene. We had to do it. I remember this big group birthday thing in Puerto Banús. It was a fortune. We'd chosen what we had carefully.
Yeah, I've done that as
you know,
well.
and then they were like, let's split the bill. And we had to go up and just say, look, I'm sorry, but that's really not fair. You've had champagne, cocktails, steak, and I've had one pizza and a Diet Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, no, I'll pay for the tip. I'll pay a bit for the birthday girl, but come on, let's be, you know. But then they look at you like exactly as you said, Sandra, like you're being a cheapskate.
I think I've learned the hard way that when you go in, you have to say to the waiter or the waitress, keep my bill separate, and then you don't fall into that gap. I know it sounds again cheapskate-ish, but if people are ordering steaks and you're having a pasta, it just doesn't work out fairly.
It needs to be done beforehand, though, doesn't
That's what I
it?
mean.
It
As
really
you
does.
go in.
Because if you've got people that are drinking, you know, at the end, it doesn't always go down well, does it? But it's at the beginning. I'm not drinking, so I'm going to pay for what I've had or
But
whatever.
you have to have some face, because even the waitresses and the staff look at you askance if you say you want a separate bill.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
horrible. It's not nice.
No.
Why should it? It shouldn't be an issue. It's just fairness. It shouldn't be an issue.
Do you know what we did when I first got together with my partner and I was earning significantly less than he was? We came up with a really good idea, which was whoever chooses the place pays. For both of you, so that we could then decide where we wanted to go ourselves and where we were happy to spend the money in, and then pay that bill. So feel generous, but within our own brackets. And that worked really, really well.
Yeah,
because we didn't feel that the other one was always paying, but it wasn't like you look at the menu and you go,
Yeah, because you can. I mean, you can get that here, can't you? And everybody's different, and what people are used to. You know, some people go out for dinner a lot and enjoy going out for dinner and love their food and are quite prepared to spend, you know, 35, 40, whatever a head on food and some drinks, or even more than that. And others who aren't used to going out for dinner are more used to maybe 25 per person, and especially if they're not drinking and whatever. So suddenly, it's 60 euros a head. It's like, what? I, as you say, I've had a pizza and a Diet Coke. Like, that's insane. So, Don't be shy. Keep it all above board and honest and out in the open, and shouldn't be an issue. If your friends are decent people, that's the other. That's the other thing. It's very important to say. We've got one more ad break. Let's take that now.
TRE, your voice in Spain.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the last part of today's Women Talk. With me in the studio today, Georgina Shaw, Becky Sharp and Sandra Mole, and not William. This is an interesting one, talking about flirting. It says, flirting with others to make your partner jealous really is a bad idea. Whether to boost your self-esteem or give your significant other a kick up the backside, it might be tempting to bat your eyes at someone else. But instead of strengthening your relationship, it's likely to damage it. Yeah, sounds kind of obvious to me.
Obvious,
definitely obvious.
I think it's sad that people would feel the need to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Relationships.
I'm feeling exactly the same.
Yeah.
Smiling, you know, batting eyelids, if you really want to do that. Or I've just got in my mind Beverly pouring Fraser.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
It was acting. It was acting.
Obviously, there was a time And maybe people do. Flirting is something that some people. I've also seen that as well, where they can't help it. My grandfather was a complete flirt, and my grandmother was a very, very elegant, very beautiful woman that you should really be keeping close to you.
Yeah.
And he could not help it.
But that's not what the article's about. This is flirting with intent.
Yes.
Intent to hurt.
That's not good.
I think
That's not good.
I have to be a natural flirt as well, but people are.
Yes.
But I'm not flirting to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
It's
No.
just in my nature, because the definition of flirting is making someone feel good.
Yes.
And that's different. So
Yes.
if you say, "Oh, I really like what you're wearing today," that's not a come on.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
But what
nice.
you're talking about there,
Exactly.
that's malintent.
Yeah, which is horrible.
And if you're trying to hurt your partner, then the relationship's finished anyway.
Exactly.
Really.
Exactly. I mean, there are people that get really sort of jealous of flirting, which again I think can be a problem in the relationship. At the end of the day, if you're secure in your relationship, if your partner's chatting and giggling or even dancing with someone else, you should think, oh, how nice to see them so happy. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really lovely place to be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like, oh, who are they talking to? Well, they seem to be getting on well with such and such. No.
Yeah.
It just should be, not smiling because they're smiling, having a good time with someone else. There shouldn't be a need to feel jealous or upset because you're secure in your relationship and you know that they're coming home with you at the end of the day. So they've had a nice night chatting with someone else. I'd be like, oh, well, what did you? That looked fun, and did you have a nice chat? And it's just a nice exchange between two humans.
And you can share that experience when you're travelling home.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go to a party or any event, business event, anything where you go with someone and you're glued to their side.
Yes.
It's all about the experience of meeting other people. And sometimes you do
completely
meet
agree with
someone
you.
new, or you find something out that you didn't know before.
Yes. Sometimes you can often spend most of the evening apart from your partner because you're chatting with different people. And as you say, that's nice. At the end, you can say, oh, who are you chatting to? Oh, they were nice. And, I met this guy who's such and such. Oh, and I was speaking to someone who did this. And, you swap stories. It's nice.
But I think, like you say, with the Abigail's party example of really being all over the other person and probably was trying to get a rise out of the other one, then I think, that's just obvious no-no, isn't it?
Yes. Fun to do whilst acting, but it would never be like that in real
Don't
life.
do it again.
Yes, exactly. I've been told. This we discussed with the men last week, but I thought I'd keep it to get the reaction of the ladies. Labelling women birds at work is sexual harassment, apparently, because it's a derogatory term, and this is an employment tribunal. Nina Chung was awarded more than £50,000 compensation after complaining of male colleagues' language at the company that she works for. She said that she repeatedly heard women called birds, a term that dates from the Middle Ages, and men boast of their sexual conquests. So there's various things that have gone into this
I don't think
case.
it matters. The word birds is irrelevant to me. You can say ladies in a derogatory way, woman in a derogatory way. It's the context and how they say it that's more derogatory.
Totally and utterly agree with
me
you.
too.
I think, it's how it's said. End of story. Yeah.
I think the sort of sexual harassment thing is so complicated because there's so many layers to it in terms of the intent, of the tone, of the whole environment. So that bird's statement might be just something that she's able to bring out of just a really hostile work environment that I'm sure we have all been in and felt uncomfortable and glad to get out of. But I think that it's very difficult to say that is sexual harassment because, in my opinion, and I think all of us are saying the same, it isn't.
Yeah.
But amongst lots of other things, it definitely can be sexist. It can definitely be pushing a woman out of a role, of a sort of a meaningful role within that company. And that's when we start getting HR, I think, does need to be involved to be like, hang on, we're all equal here and we all need to be treated with respect.
That's the phrase comes with a package. It's not just a phrase on its own, because you can dismiss that. You can talk to them and say, I don't like the way you're speaking to me. But there must be other behaviour patterns within that. which have to be dealt with. Really.
Definitely. And I think with the whole umbrella term, if you like, of sexual harassment, I agree with you, Georgina. It's so much of it isn't black and white. There's obvious things to do with touching and whatever that would be black and white, but in terms of words, I think it's very much understanding the relationship that you have with your colleagues and how they would handle certain comments.
I think also as well, you know, having boys, myself and you have as well, Georgina, that I want to bring my boys up. They've got a fantastic father, role model there, but that there's, you know, saying things flippantly sometimes is very, very bad. Big mistake. You don't just, you know, and I know that sometimes the boys will say, oh Mum, it's just banter, you know. He knows that I don't, you know, I didn't mean it like that. Well, I said, but actually it's uncomfortable. It made me feel uncomfortable when you were talking about it. So just don't do it. Don't say words like that. You know, whether it's banter or not. You know, and this could be the same thing with this chap. I guess it's a man saying, you know, calling women birds.
It's just banter.
If you say something often enough, it becomes normalised.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
Okay. Sleep divorce. Couples are moving to bigger homes, building extensions, or forcing their kids to double up, all so they can sleep apart. Sleep divorce is on the rise, with 1 in 20 owners saying they've remortgaged so they can move to a bigger house or expand their own to have separate bedrooms. This woman said, it all started with crate training our puppy. I began sleeping downstairs in my office to help her settle, thinking it was a temporary thing. But to my surprise, I was sleeping better than ever. What began as a practical solution quickly turned into an accidental sleep divorce. And it's been a game changer. She says no more snoring, no more late night reading interruptions, and no more early morning gym alarms waking each other up. It's all very practical, isn't it?
It does sound very practical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's not unusual because our older generation grandparents, they slept separately, but the children had left, so the house was their own. Whereas now, with the cost of houses, children aren't able to leave and move on, so the house is expanding with more people, and to remortgage to make the house bigger, it just seems normal to me that in order to move on to sleeping separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it.
No, I don't see it's why it's such a bad thing. It's just kind of each to their own, really, isn't it? There'll be people that say absolutely not, I would never want to sleep in a separate bed to my partner, which is absolutely fine. And then other people that go, boy, it kind of makes sense for the reasons that she gave. So
it keeps the marriage happy and together.
Yeah,
exactly. I feel that, you know, again, it's a very private, personal thing, isn't it? And if you've got the room, you know, and it's... Also, I just think as long as it's not sort of, you know, oh, I just can't, you know, I'm so fed up with you, I'm going to sleep in the room next door.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
not great, is it?
That isn't a great relation, you know, you need to kind of.
But isn't this going down the road of what is a normal relationship?
Yeah.
We all have our own form of relationship, and if it works for you, it works for you, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And there might be things like, you know, proper medical things that, you know, it has to happen for a period of time. And we have to be accommodating of those types of situations.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about love. Sharing a bed with somebody, you know, it is to a certain degree about love, but it's also about respect and care for that person. And if they aren't sleeping well, they're not going to be great, are they, to be around if they're not sleeping well?
But that's in the Western world. It hasn't, and it also hasn't always been that we have slept together. There were times when women and men constantly slept separately. If you go to other countries, you sleep separately.
Yeah,
it's only here, you know, Westernized.
Yeah, we don't judge.
No judgment here.
No judgment here.
Judgment-free zone.
This one is all about being a superwoman. It says, why being a superwoman is dangerous. Work-life balance is a myth, and telling young women they can have it all is dangerous.
I think what needs to happen now, in this day and age, is there needs to be education. Part of education needs to come in from school and from home, where it's talked about with young people, male and female or other, what the definition of wanting it all is.
Well, having a career and kids, I guess that's the difficulty, and women are having kids later in order to have more of a career.
But also, I've got friends who, you know, they're really not sure about the children thing, and I said, look, don't worry about, you know, the thing is not to regret it.
Yeah.
There does become
freezing eggs. That's what women are doing more and more these days.
In China, who go, you know, I just think it's very much, you know, what do you, the problem is when you're in your 20s, you're looking at your life, and it's very different when you're
thinking
30s.
You've got loads of time.
Yeah. And what really makes you happy is going to change all the time. You know, so I think that you have to just be very mindful about what you're doing and what you want, and if you find the right person, again, that can be really difficult. And then that person doesn't want to have children.
I was really interested by that statement because it came from female business leaders, and people could think that comes from a man, but I actually think it's right, because if you have the perception that everybody else has got it together and these people are working, they are CEOs and amazing mums, and they've got no help, no cleaners, no nannies, rubbish. That is a bad, false role model, because you do have to admit that, you know, there's reasons why women stayed at home to be mums. It's an incredibly full-time job, more than full-time job. And so to have the two together, you do need help, you need support, and you need to admit and be saying that not to fail if you're finding it hard to do those two things together. And so actually I love that call, because it says it's okay to want everything, in inverted commas, but also to find it really hard and need to ask for help and not feel that you have let anybody down by doing that.
Absolutely. It's, you know, feeling like you need to make the perfect birthday cake, you need to be the best wife wearing, you know, sexy underwear, you need to be really successful at work and take your kid out and play football, and to do all of those things really, really well at the same time is not realistic, is it?
No.
But we're giving it a good go.
Well, we're all super women in our own way.
Yes,
and I think that's what you were saying as well, to say, you know, what is it to have, or I want to have it all because I've got this in mind. Absolutely, why not? Do that. Make yourself happy.
Yes. Oh, let's end on a happy note. Screw you, William. Thank you for your company today. Thank you to
Hannah.
Georgina, Becky and Sandra.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.